Hey guys, it's Istebrak. So today I'm going to show you what I worked on recently in my latest illustration. As you can see at the top, I wrote, "Today I'm going to let myself suck." I did that because I was having a really difficult time getting back into personal work. I think I was burned out, definitely burned out, not think. And I was just not sure what it is that I wanted to do with paintings anymore. It wasn't that I, had like I did have a lot of hesitation with my skill set. I wasn't sure if I had the skill. But of course, anybody who's ever said that, ends up proving themselves wrong. So I tried to anyway, despite it. I even have like a history of text messages I sent my friends. I was like, I'm going to start streaming. I really don't know if I'm going to fail again because I had failed 2 illustrations before this, 2 after-hour stream illustrations. Like portrait studies, not failed by any standard other than my own. I feel like I could have done better. I was making beginner mistakes like just like crazy, and I was missing accuracy. So I didn't have conviction with my brushstrokes. Basically, is a good way to describe it. Is I wasn't sure of the purpose of my brushstrokes, and I wasn't sure of their placement, which means that they would go into a good spot, but not the best spot. And I like painting where I have pushed myself to find the best spot to put the to put the brushstroke. Balance between my visual library and the references that I find. So I got a portrait studio reference, and I got another reference, and I worked with it, and then I just wanted to do my own thing. I knew I wanted like a circular face, a roundish face. I'm always drawing these long noses, these long faces. So I wanted something a little bit shorter. And up until this point, you can see there's a lot of blocking. I am doing no blending at all, almost zero blending. And in fact, I'm almost disgusted by early blending nowadays. I find myself wanting to jump into it ASAP, and that kind of impulse disgusts me because I know that I'm going to destroy my painting if I start blending too early and delaying or inhibiting my blocking accuracy. So I said, let me just, practice what I preach, and just trust my instinct and avoid blending. Even though, by all intents and purposes, at this point in time, it was ready for blending, I still was not convinced that it was just there yet. I wanted to completely exhaust every single edge, and I wanted to make sure that when I started blending, which you'll see in a bit, it was absolutely ready for blending. So the rule of thumb is over block. Make sure you provide more blocks than you need. Make sure you block so much it just looks gritty, so that when you blend, what you have left are the edges that you absolutely needed, and more edges than you need, meaning it will have ended after you blend your last blend. It will be rendered. See what I'm saying? So the final turnaround, the final step is not requiring any more steps farther than that, ideally. Let me repeat. Block so much that when you finish blending, the painting is done. So I'm trying to reiterate that on purpose because that really is how you get to the point where things look professional. So you can see I started with the most hazy areas I could not afford an edge, which is hairline, certain hair, cheeks, lips. That's what I blended first. I got those out of the way because I know for sure those areas I won't need as edges. I won't need sharp. A tattered hairline just looks like a wig. The mouth always needs to be over blended. The nose, eventually I did last, and as you blend, when you enter that stage of blending, your brush stroke shrinks, your brush size shrinks. After I blended and I felt like I was in a comfortable place, I felt like I over blended some areas. Again, it just comes from that hesitation, and I was also fighting a lot of self-doubt in this piece. And if you look at it, it looks done, and that's ideally exactly where you want to be. Everything I do here on out, everything I do after this point is because I wanted to push my rendering as well. So, it's the painterly point where when you're done blocking and you blend, it's done. That point, that done point is acceptable done. But I wanted photograph done, as I usually do. Anyway, I got my number 5 smudging. I think it's my number 3 or my number 5, and the large one. And I started smudging out the hair, leaving behind a really, really nice pixelated smudge, which added to the detail, so I didn't feel like I lost detail when I was blending. And then that added to that painterly, fluffy effect of the curly hair, which looks very 50s, very 40s, which I absolutely love. I love that hairstyle, and I usually always draw the hairstyle I have at the moment. My hair got really long, so I just wanted to try hair texture that, well, I wasn't trying to brushstroke every single hair, and I wasn't detailing in that way. I wanted a satisfying detail that satiates the viewer without actually going in and trying to blend and block in hair. I feel like hair, for me, is a great opportunity to try abstract brushstrokes. And the way I was blending in between the brushstrokes was really satisfying to me, because it's a way to pay homage to your brush strokes. It's a way to pay homage to your brushes, and these brushes are so near and dear to my heart. They are everything to me. And I like showing off their texture. So what I did with the hair is something that I really, really had fun with, and I've been trying to explore it with plein air, not plein air, but like digital referencing for digital referenced landscape illustrations. I've been messing around with some like leafy brushes and stuff like that, just to preserve most of that outward texture. Rendering leaves and bushes is always really hard, but the way I did it with the hair here seems like it's like the best way to try to imitate texture, the illusion of it, without actually trying to shrink your brush ever. At no point are we shrinking our brush, is kind of like the attempt. And then radially descending the face back into the darks of the hair, trying to detail with the eyes, trying to stay balanced, making sure I'm not drawing a generic eye, something that's outside my comfort zone. And I tried an inverse. Usually the eye socket descends into a shadow. This time I wanted kind of like a lot of more upper eyelid fat, a lot more upper eyelid fat. And then I wanted to render out the lips more. I usually just leave the lips right here. And I wanted to push them a little bit further as well. And then the eyebrows, I wanted more bushy eyebrows, less clean, but definitely the notable female arc, just so that it looks feminine. She still looks mature. It doesn't look like, a 5-year-old or anything like that. Just my usual characterization choices. So the lower eyelid, the little crease of the lower eyelid on the inside. So an interior lower eyelid hood, kind of not a hood, but a fat reserve. And then the eye bag as well. And then because the light was coming in at a sharp top right angle down our right, the half the eyeball was going to be shadowed. That was something I missed when I blocked, which was crazy to me, because I'm doing the stuff I'm teaching my students not to do, which is don't blend or don't paint the eye as if it's got its own light source. So as I'm painting, I'm learning. As I'm learning, I'm making mistakes, and then I'm going back and seeing those mistakes. Then I continue painting. Areas, so relearning just means reblocking an area, learning my lesson, moving forward. So it was a lot really to deal with, but I did let myself suck. I did let myself make mistakes. The creative pressure was lifted, and all that was left behind was my raw skill, my raw technical skill, which is what I needed to do. I needed to explore the technical skill. I needed to see where I was after all these months of no painting, all these months of limited illustration, no time for myself between, working on the house and going back into work and catching up with everyone's curriculum. And just everything that's going on in life. It's hard, to be creative. Usually we have outlets, but it's harder when the whole world is shut down and the whole world is on the edge of a knife, to feel like you have anything to say about it all. I know it seems like that's when artists thrive. But for me, I didn't do much in the summer. I didn't really do a lot of sketching as much as I wanted to. So I felt like my whole creative energy was just super low, super unfed, kind of like a wilted plant. And so I didn't want to put myself in a position where I was forcing myself to be creative even after all of that. So I said, no, I'm just going to try to do a technical examination of what I can do, just whatever I do in class, but my own personal study, as if I am my own student. And that's why I let myself suck. And that's really what's so amazing about being a student, is that they're allowed to suck. So by lack of a better term, really, students are not going to be judged for the mistakes they make. Teachers are. And that is my own, self-criticism in charge. So that's what's killing my kind of desire to make a mistake is that, you know, oh, you're going to make the mistake. You're the teacher here. So I always have to catch myself, and I always have to make sure, yo, you have to let yourself suck. Because if you don't, you're going to stop learning. So I said, okay, maybe not stop learning, definitely stop learning, but not be able to show what you can do because you're too scared of sucking to paint to show what you can do, especially to myself. I know you guys believe that I draw very well, but for me, it's a very, very, very steep struggle to get myself motivated to a point where I believe I'm a great artist or I believe I'm good at what I do. So I have to convince myself, and that convincing only lasts like a week, and then I have to reconvince myself with another piece. So it's not a guarantee that, you know, you're going to forever let yourself suck and be forgiving and feel great about your art and accomplish and be positive, at least for type A personalities like myself. And I don't like limiting personalities type A or type B or whatever, but it's just to simplify the metaphor a little bit. So I had to just write it right on my canvas. Just let yourself suck, for Pete's sake. Just do something where it's just about your technical representation. So here you can see that I had this whole time I've just been pushing the detailing, meaning that I enter smaller features and they're smaller little zones, and each of those zones has smaller areas, and everything can be cleaned up zone by zone. It's like that zoom out of the galaxy. You know, you see the solar system, you see the Earth, you see the moon, you see the solar system, then you see the Milky Way, and then you see the cosmos, right? And then you see so much other. So that's kind of what it is. You kind of have to zoom into each individual galaxy of edge and edge control, each little radial shade and its adjacent edge. And that may be a small area, but it's part of a larger area, and that area is part of a larger area. And that's how you render. You just go into those small little zones and channel those, channel the core shadow there, because the core shadow is the same no matter how much you zoom in. And yeah, and that's pretty much what I was doing. I was trying my best. Really, I'm used to rendering the nose. You guys are used to seeing that, so that's nothing new. Sharp edge there, a bounce light there, terminator line on the dark side, highlighter unblended, and then the sharp nostril against the cheek with a light behind it. Basic walk in the park. Eyes are a walk in the park for me too, because I've been teaching them for like a decade. But the mouth, it was kind of troubling for me just because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I did want to add detail. So I was just thinking about the cylinder, and I wanted to add that dewy upper lip sweat that you get. And I wanted to add a hint of a mustache, just a natural young girl's kind of unwaxed mustache. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Don't act like every time I talk about the upper lip mustache, people are just like, what? And I'm just like, yes, there is a mustache there. It needs to be recognized and represented. Representation matters for the mustache. And for sometimes it feels like there's a space between the nose and the mouth that's just missing information there. So that's why I wanted to add it, and I really pushed it, and you'll see it in a sec. And you can see it on the other side already. You don't notice it when it's there. You miss it when it's not there. You also don't miss it when it's not there if you don't know it should be there. But once you start noticing it, you'll miss it because it just feels really sterile if you don't have that shadow drop above the lips. There is that slight little curve upward before the lips start, and that's usually a shadow or a mustache shade. It could be both. Enough reasons not to include it. Enough reasons to include it. So that's why I'm trying to take time to just apply that there, just so I have an extra piece of information. Basically meaning like a brushstroke is information. And then the lower lip, it was bothering me because it didn't have enough highlight on the top part of its cylinder. Each lip is a cylinder. The lower lip cylinder was missing its highlighter. This painting, I never finished it, meaning like I never did the other eye, and I never did the pupil and the iris. But I think I did that on purpose, or subconsciously or unconsciously. I did that just because I knew that it wasn't a creative pursuit, and it was just a technical pursuit, and that's why I didn't need to I didn't need to personalize her. And if I personalized her, it would have become a creative piece, and I'm not going to represent a piece that was technical as creative and just lie, and say, oh, this was intended to be something like this or not. So I definitely didn't feel the need to render the eyes any further to represent anything else really in regards to the other side. I like showing kind of like you reverse time on one half of the face and you're showing the very first block. That block on the eyes right now is it for her right eye, our left eye. is the very, very first block I applied when painting the face. And I just, something about it being there, I didn't want to remove it. I felt like it belonged there. And I just wanted to work in that direction, just try to show off. I didn't want to render the other nostril, but something about noses, I like rendering them fully, just because both nostrils has like one of the best dark spots in the face to play with. It's a sharp edge. You've got a reverse bounce light on the other side, reverse kind of like an inverse of the anatomy there. So that's definitely what I wanted to keep. And I knew what I didn't want to keep. Again, just a technical representation of the rules I wanted to break, from the hair to the mouth to the nose to the eyes. Anything I wanted to inverse. Something about the detail relief of over smudging for the hairline and the hair is also really, really helping the detail come out for the portrait. So much is going on that helps the portrait when you undermine other rules, and that's something that I feel like I'm in a position to start pursuing, just the breaking of rules. I didn't break a lot of rules before. I felt like my studies were not very finesse. They were kind of like struggles. They were kind of me just really begging the painting to come through. I could say that this painting came pretty easily to me. It wasn't much of a struggle, and I didn't have to kind of like beg the painting to read. I didn't have to revisit it on multiple occasions. This was just one stream at 3 hours, and I was doing a lot of pausing, so it wasn't even a full 3 hours of painting. It was probably like 2 total hours of brushstrokes. With talking to my students, taking pauses, so I'm not even sure really how long it took if we measured at the time of every single brushstroke. But yeah, it was a really nice experience. It was a great study for me, and letting myself suck really allowed that to come through. There wasn't much pressure. There wasn't much struggle. There wasn't much expectation from me, especially after this great pause in my life, the longest pause I took between after hours regular portrait sketches and portrait work. It was nice to see that after such a massive burnout, I was capable of pulling out something, at least. I have this bad habit, and if you ask my sister, she'll tell you, if she got a quarter for every time I said, I'm never drawing again, she'd be a very, very wealthy woman. So I've said it before, and I probably will say it again in my life. There's times when I feel like I'll never draw again, and I suck and stuff like that. But then, you know, letting yourself suck. Yeah, I mean, I may suck right now with creative stuff. I'm just licking the ground right now. And I'm not doing very well with the creative pursuits, just because I don't feel like a storyteller lately. I've just been so plagued by, you know, the medical disabilities that I've been dealing with, as well as the stress of American life in this time and age, the pandemic, and then there was the election that was stressing everybody out, and I was trying to do my part and getting everyone out to vote. So I didn't feel like a storyteller. I felt like I was caught up in our story, and our struggle, and our present struggle, and our existential crisis at the time. But I feel like once things settle down, and we'll start to miss the struggle, so we'll start writing about the struggle. It's hard to write about struggle and paint characters who are feeling, express emotions, or characters who are hunting or fighting, you know, fighter characters, if your life is full of that at the moment. So so that whole struggle, I hope, is over soon, and I hope that'll represent a shift in my creative energy with work. But until then, it's good to let yourself suck. It's good to take on these projects where it's just still refortifying your faith in your abilities, but of course still practicing, still keeping you forth, learning, still keeping you a part of the canvas and the learning experience, still keeping you feeling like a student. Really, there's nothing worse than retirement. They say retirement is a killer, meaning if you stop being a student, if you stop doing your job, if you stop doing the thing that you love to do, it's really just the end of you. So once in a while, let yourself suck, take a break, forgive yourself for not being that perfect thing you have to be all the time for your, you know, for whoever is expecting it of you, and you'll find yourself thriving. So I hope this journal helps you guys. Happy New Year. Thank you for all your patience. Thank you for all your patronage. You guys are amazing. I'll see you in the new year, hopefully with more work to impress you guys. Bye.